Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good to be back at WMUA. Welcome to my first podcast in which I'll be talking everything Boston sports related from. Let me turn this off. So this is a new podcast I'm starting, in which I talk about everything Boston sports related, from Patriots to Celtics to Red Sox to Bruins. So today I'm discussing plenty of topics related to Boston sports. So today is a special day. Today's the first game of the Red Sox versus Yankees playoff series. Oh boy, can't wait. I got my Red Sox gear on and I'm it's ready to roll. So, and also we'll be discussing last night's Patriots victory over the Colts last night, and we'll discuss the Bruins this horrible loss this last night and how they and today's bounce back game. So, first, we got to discuss the Red Sox, who are playing today against the Yankees. So, yeah, who didn't see this coming, honestly? This is the first postseason matchup with the Yankees since 2004, and we all know who won, what happened in 2004. So, the only thing is, this is a 5-game series instead of a 7-game series. I'm still not really sure if I like having a 5-game series, but whatever. It is what it is. So looking at all the games, so tonight's matchup is tonight's pitchers is Chris Sale versus JHo, and Game 2 is David Price versus Masahiro Tanaka. Game 3 is Rick Porcello versus Luis Severino, and Game 4, if necessary, is Nathan Eovaldi versus CC Sabathia, and Game 5, if necessary, is Chris Sale versus JHo. So, even though the Red Sox had an amazing regular season and broke the record for most regular season wins, I still kind of feel like there's a trepidation between a lot of Red Sox fans about this team. Like, I think everybody wants to jump all on board, but I think there has been a bit of a hesitation. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little hesitant to jump on this team. And I think part of it is the last 2 seasons, they've been really good in the regular season. And in the first matchup in the postseason, they got destroyed. 2 years ago, they got destroyed by the Indians. Last year, they got destroyed by the Houston Astros. So I think a lot of people want to like jump all on board on this team, but I still think there is a little bit of hesitation, and I'll discuss this a little later. I'll discuss this a little later, but there's definitely some holes with both teams. Both these teams I think are really good. I think both these teams can go on and win the World Series, but I think both teams definitely have a lot of strengths, but they have some weaknesses. So let's actually go over the series between these two teams. So the Red Sox won the series 10-9, and one thing that actually kind of stood out to me when looking back at these games, because I went back and looked at the scores and some stats about these games, is some of these games were incredibly lopsided. I remember one night back to back, the Red Sox won like 10-0, and then like the Yankees won like 10-1, and the Yankees won 10-1, and it was a little odd. Like, even though the rivalry's back, a lot of these games haven't been that competitive. It's really interesting. All right, so the first thing that really stood out to me about both these teams this year is that the offenses have been really, really dominant. Boston led the MLB in runs scored with 876, and the Yankees were second with 851. And they basically led in every single offensive category, with the Red Sox having the edge in batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS plus, strikeout rate, and the 2 areas in which the Yankees were ahead were home runs and walk rate. So, and also as far as pitching, Boston had an ERA of 3.75, and New York had 3.78. So it's lean towards the Red Sox, but let's call it a draw. We might as well. So there's a few things I'm going to be looking for from the Red Sox perspective on how they can win this series. As far as today, the first thing I'm looking for is what's Chris Sale going to look like today. The Red Sox limited Sale to 5 starts and 17 innings in the last 9 weeks of the regular season, and when he did pitch, his velocity was not the same. It was a lot lower than it usually is. In fact, in the last time we saw him, he had a 90.2 miles per hour fastball, which was the lowest ever in the big leagues. So in order for the Sox to win today, he needs to be Chris Sale, because JHo has been a Red Sox killer this year. So he's had the Red Sox number this year. So Chris Sale needs to be Chris Sale. And another reason why I think people are worried about Chris Sale this year, besides the fact that we haven't seen him in a while, or we've barely seen him, is because last year when the Red Sox played the Houston Astros in the playoffs, he didn't look that great. And I would kind of attribute to the fact that the Red Sox, they kind of overused him at the end of the year and basically throughout the whole year. So I think the fact that the Red Sox have been very cautious and not playing him too much is actually a good thing. I think it'll refresh him, and I think it'll let him rest and prepare better for the playoffs, because I think a mistake last year was they overworked him a bit. So I think he'll come into this game refreshed and ready to go. And there's a few more factors that I'm looking for at the Red Sox basically throughout the whole series. So one key to stopping or winning against the Yankees is limiting the amount of home runs they can hit. Like, the Yankees, they like to hit a lot of home runs. They try to go for the long ball. I think this year they broke the record for most home runs by a team all time. So they love to hit the home run, but that when you try to hit a bunch of home runs, that leads to a lot of strikeouts. And the Yankees actually ranked this year 9th in strikeouts with 1,421, while the Red Sox were at 26th with 1,253. And as far as strikeout rate, the Red Sox had 19.9%, while the Yankees were 22.7%. And Stanton was second in strikeouts with 211 behind Yoan Moncada of the White Sox. Remember him? So one thing is to for the Red Sox to limit the Yankees' home runs, because if they just hit the ball out of park, then it's not going to look very well. So another factor is David Price, who is going to be pitching Game 2, and we all know that David Price has not always performed well. Actually, I don't think he's ever really performed well in the postseason. He's 0 for 9, and he has an ERA of 5.03. So that's not very good. And plus, not to mention, he hasn't done great in his career against the Yankees either. He has a 4.9 ERA against the Yankees all time, and a 3.01 ERA against everybody else. So another key would be, has David Price turned it around? And this isn't just for the Yankees too. If the Red Sox move on, will David Price turn his career around? Because he's not been good in the postseason at all. So this is also looking into the future too. If the Red Sox win this series, so this year David Price actually had a really, really good second half. He had a 2.225 ERA in 11 starts. So that added a lot of confidence, especially when Chris Sale started having his injuries. And so a key is definitely, has David Price made a turn, and can he perform well in the playoffs. And then another key is Nathan Eovaldi, who's actually been a Yankee killer this year. He has an ERA of 1.93 and a WHIP of 0.77 against the Yankees. So, and Rick Porcello actually has a pretty knack for performing well against the Yankees and in the postseason. Even though he's not in the regular season, he can be pretty frustrating at times. But I think Rick Porcello is right for these kind of moments.
I think another factor in the series is how can the Red Sox take advantage of Gary Sanchez. The Red Sox were really good this year at stealing bases. They had 125 stolen bases, which is the third most in baseball, and they had 80% success rate in baseball. Mookie Betts had 30, Andrew Benintendi had 21, Bradley had 17. So catchers and pitchers always have to watch out for the Red Sox stealing a base. And Gary Sanchez has a strong arm, but his blocking could be kind of suspect. And Gary Sanchez only threw out 25.8% of the runners that ran on him this year. So I think the Red Sox should be looking at trying to take advantage and running on Gary Sanchez. And this year, Boston went 17 for 18 stealing bases against the Yankees. And they went 3 for 3 stealing bases in 9 games with Sanchez behind the plate. And 14 for 15 in the 10 games with Austin Romine behind the plate. So Red Sox can definitely take advantage of Gary Sanchez and Austin Romine, whoever is behind the plate.
And another key for the Red Sox is for them to perform well against Yankee lefties. So the New York will likely throw out 3 lefties in this series. Happ will be in twice, and CC Sabathia will be in out of the 5 games, if this goes 5 games. And which means the Red Sox won't get to face many righties in a lot of these games. And the Red Sox have done better against right-handers than left-handers. So a key will be looking at how Pierce and Eduardo Nunez do against the lefty starters. And Rafael Devers and Mitch Moreland are probably going to be on the bench, so it's up to those guys to be X factors in this series. And then another factor, obviously, is the bullpen. And New York has a 3.38 ERA as far as bullpen, and Red Sox have a 3.74 ERA. And so this is one area in which kind of does concern me a bit about the Red Sox. Their bullpen has been very shaky, to say the least. Like, Matt Barnes is banged up and has not looked very good the last 2 months. And Joe Kelly can throw a fast pitch, but he can be he's very inconsistent. He can be very, very aggravating to watch. So it's up to Rodriguez, Stephen Wright, and Ryan Brazier to step it up and perform well in the bullpen. And I'm very confident that they can. And as far as the Yankees, one of their strengths is their bullpen. They have Zach Britton, they have Aroldis Chapman, David Robertson, and Dylan Betances. And as far as the closers, I'll be honest, none of them have really performed well against each other. Chapman has not performed great against Boston, and Kimbrel has not performed well against the Yankees. Chapman has a 9 ERA and a 2.17 WHIP against the Red Sox, and Kimbrel has a 4.76 ERA against the Yankees and a 1.23 WHIP. So honestly, I don't really trust either of them too much, because when I watch Craig Kimbrel play against the Yankees, I'm just holding my breath that he doesn't allow a home run, because I don't know. He hasn't really looked the same in a while. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but hopefully Craig Kimbrell can look like Craig Kimbrell. And hopefully he turns a turn too, because he hasn't been the best in the postseason either. And honestly, when Aroldis Chapman comes up, I don't really fear him either. I remember that game against the Red Sox, in which the Yankees were trying to prevent to be swept, and when I saw Aroldis Chapman not have any control, I wasn't 100% sure, but I was pretty certain that the Red Sox were going to make it a very interesting game, because when Aroldis Chapman comes up, I don't really fear him at all. So, and also, this isn't the biggest, I don't think it's the biggest factor, but obviously you got to go with, you got to talk about managing. So, Cora does have more managing experience. Then again, it's not as a manager. It's as an offensive coach for the Astros last year. But that is some managing experience. Boone has none. He was a broadcaster, so I would probably give the edge to Cora there. So I trust Cora. I do trust Cora to make the right decisions. Especially, and we'll see what he does with the bullpen, because how Cora controls the bullpen is key. So here's my prediction for this series. From what I can gather outside of Boston and New York, I think the consensus is, I kind of feel, I could be wrong, but I kind of feel that most people are gonna pick New York, because I think there's more certainty about them than the Red Sox. But yeah, you know me, I'm not picking the Yankees. I'm going with the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox will win this series. I think this will be a classic Red Sox-Yankees series, and the Red Sox will win it in 5 in Fenway Park. So, and one of the main reasons is that the Red Sox have been really, really good at home. And I mean, this year they're 57-24 at home. And when the Red Sox have played the Yankees in Fenway Park, they've won 7 of the 10 games and outscored them 76-48. While the Yankees did win 6-9 in New York, and they did outscore them 54-40. But the Red Sox have home field advantage, and I think that is a factor. And so, yes, I'm going with the Red Sox. And plus, at the beginning of the year, everybody picked the Yankees to win the division, and nobody believed in the Red Sox. Well, not a lot of people believe in the Red Sox right now. So, I believe in them. I thought they would win the division this year, and so I'm going with the Red Sox. Go Sox! All right, next is the recap of the Thursday night football game between the Colts and the Patriots. So last week was pretty different for both teams. So last week was super sweet because the Patriots rebounded and destroyed the Miami Dolphins after that tough loss to the Detroit Lions. And the Colts were coming off a loss with an incredibly weird game against the Texans, in which they went forward on 4th down on the Texans' 43-yard line and basically threw away the game. So this game, I was pretty confident that the Patriots would win this game. I mean, I think most people picked the Patriots to win. I think they were a 10-point favorite. So, and plus, I actually did a little research before the game on when was the last time the Colts beat the Patriots in Foxborough? And last time they won in Foxborough was in 2006. 2006. I was 10 years old back then. And Andrew Luck has not had much success against the Patriots at all. Before this game, he was 0-5. I mean, now he's 0-6. So, yeah, safe to say Luck has not played at his best when he's facing Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. So, and in this game, I expected to see a lot of points because, honestly, both these defenses are not great. The Patriots are 11th were the 11th ranked defense, and actually this kind of surprised me. They before this game they were actually 8th in pass defense. I thought they'd be much worse, but the Colts were actually ranked 19th in overall defense and 18th in pass defense. So before the game I actually thought this would be a decent game, and then the Patriots would slightly pull ahead at the end, and so that's what I thought at first. But then I found out that T.Y. Hilton. I found out that T.Y. Hilton was out for the game, and also I read that Gronk was gonna play after last week. It looked like he got dinged up. He got hurt a little bit, and obviously Julian Edelman was coming back. So I predicted it'd be a high-scoring game, but I thought the Patriots would cover the spread. And so looking at this game, the first half the Patriots were dominant. It was basically like watching what they did to the Miami Dolphins. Maybe not that dominant, but they looked like Indianapolis Colts didn't look like they were in the same league. Like Tom Brady was masterful. Like he went 20 for 23. He threw for 176 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a rushing QB sneak touchdown. And honestly, and one of the drops was a wide open pass to Julian Edelman, who should have caught it. And even though at times the Colts were moving the ball, they had some key drops, and Vinatieri actually missed and made a field goal. So the Patriots weren't exactly dominating them on defense, except for I believe like the first 2 drives. So they were getting the job done. And also the first half ended pretty well for the Patriots. Andrew Luck threw an interception, and after getting hit by Adrian Claiborne, and Gostowski made a field goal to put the Patriots up 24-3. So yeah, by the first half I was pretty happy. And so the second half begins, and at the first 2 drives, the Colts get the ball back to start the first half, and then they punted. The Patriots got the ball, and they punted. And so when the Patriots punted, who, by the way, Ryan Allen actually had a pretty good game. The Colts returned from the Indy 32 to the New England 35-yard line, and it just seemed like things kind of just went downhill from there. And then the Colts went down and scored a touchdown. And I thought it was inevitable because they were moving the ball pretty well against the Patriots, but they just couldn't score any points. And so I thought it was inevitable. However, for some reason, I think things turned to Freaky Friday because it seemed like the Colts and the Patriots switched, in which the Colts offense was unstoppable and the Patriots were moving the ball but couldn't get any points. So throughout most of the game, Luck got like no pressure at all. Like, other than the sack in the first half, I don't really remember him getting touched at all. And also the secondary was awful. I don't even think the Colts punted for the rest of the half after they punted on their first drive in the second half. Like, they made Luck look like Dan Marino, and Eric Ebron, who had 9 catches for 105 yards, looked like Jerry Rice. So just watching the second half and watching how awful the Patriots defense was, it for some reason gave me flashbacks to Super Bowl 53 with Frank Reich on the sidelines calling offensive play calls, and yeah, that was a nightmare. So watching the second half, I was just waiting for that moment in which the Patriots would disrupt the Colts' momentum, because the momentum turned. Like, the Colts were not being stopped offensively. So there were 2 drives in which I thought that the Patriots were going to score and end the momentum, but they didn't. So Brady was able to move the Patriots in scoring position 2 times. However, unfortunately, they ended in turnovers. And the first drive, Brady led them in scoring position, and it ended with Chris Hogan dropping a pass that got intercepted. And the next one was after a great turnover by Devin McCourty, who stripped the ball away from Jordan Wilkins and recovered it to save that drive, because if he didn't do that, I'm pretty sure the Colts would have scored a touchdown. So the drive looks pretty good, even though inevitably the Patriots would get a penalty and be down 2nd and 20. It looked like the Patriots were going to get a touchdown themselves as Gronk caught a ball to get a first down in scoring position, and then Gronk fumbled the ball, which landed in the hands of Mathis Farley of the Colts, and the Colts proceeded to score a touchdown and then now the Colts are only down 7 points. So now I'm pretty worried because the Patriots are turning the ball over, which is the kiss of death, and the Colts are destroying our defense. So on the next drive after that, the Patriots are moving down the field again, and when the Patriots were at the Indy 34-yard line, Brady got all day in the pocket and threw a deep ball to the end zone. And for a second I thought, please do not turn this ball over again like the last 2 drives. Come on. And for a second I thought it would happen because Brady threw into double coverage, and then next thing you know, Josh Gordon caught the ball to save the day. And not to mention this was Tom Brady's 500th touchdown. So it's interesting that it went to Josh Gordon. So now Brady is 3rd all time in touchdowns behind Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. I think he'll inevitably catch Brett Favre. I think he needs 6 more to catch Brett Favre and 7 more to surpass Brett Favre. As far as Peyton Manning, obviously he'd probably have to play a few more seasons, but it's definitely possible. If he's playing like this, I think he'll inevitably catch Peyton Manning. And as far as the Josh Gordon touchdown, for some reason, watching Brady throw into double coverage and Josh Gordon catching it kind of gave me deja vu flashbacks to when Randy Moss was doing the same thing in 2007, when Brady would just throw into double coverage and he just knew that Randy Moss was inevitably just going to catch it. I'm not saying Josh Gordon is Randy Moss, but I don't know, that play just kind of gave me deja vu flashbacks to that moment. And so the game ended with Luck throwing an interception, Sony Michel running for a touchdown, and Luck throwing a garbage time touchdown at the end. And after the Josh Gordon touchdown, I was pretty confident that the Patriots would pull out the victory. And so the game ended 38-24 Patriots. And at the end, I was actually kind of rooting for the Colts to score the touchdown, because guess what my prediction was? 38-24 Patriots. And guess what it ended up being? 38-24 Patriots. So just want to brag there a little bit. Yeah, I was actually kind of rooting for the Colts. I mean, based on how the defense looked, it was pretty inevitable that they probably were going to score again when the Colts were down 38-17. So, all right, let's look at let's do an overall assessment of the game. So, I thought Brady looked pretty good in this game. He went 34 for 44, threw for 341 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 interceptions. Both were not, I don't really think were his fault. The Gronk one was definitely not his fault. The Chris Hogan one, I mean, Brady probably could have thrown a better pass, but Chris Hogan needs to catch that. And there were a few times in which Brady did not look as sharp as he usually is. Even though the game was basically over, there was a 3rd down conversion at the end of the game in which James White was completely wide open and he basically threw it not even close to him. So, I mean, Brady had a very good game. And I also thought some of the standouts were James White and Gronk, who had pretty good games, minus the turnover that Gronk had. James White having 10 receptions for 77 yards, and Gronk having 6 receptions for 75 yards. And both of them caught key passes on third down that kept kept drives going. And Julian Edelman looked pretty good, even though I don't think he's completely 100% with, but I thought he looked pretty solid. And Sonny Michel looked solid again with a 98-yard rushing performance. And Sonny Michel's actually looked pretty good the past two games after that debacle in Detroit. And so if Sonny Michel continues this, he's adding another dimension to the Patriots that I don't really think the Patriots have had for a while. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe since like Corey Dillon, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Sonny Michel looked pretty solid, and I thought the offensive line looked pretty solid too. Brady was sacked 0 times, even though I thought Brady was hit a little more than I would have liked. But I thought the offensive line was pretty solid. The defense, not so much. Like I said before, they were solid in the first half, even though they got lucky with the few drops and the Vinatieri missed field goal. And like I said before, they really couldn't generate any pressure, and there were way too many wide open receivers. It was honestly just very depressing to watch. Andrew Luck was 38 of 59 with 365 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I will say the one good thing about the Patriots defense this year is they've been pretty good at stopping the run. Like, the Colts really didn't have much of a running game in this game. And so basically Andrew Luck had to carry the team and he had to throw 59 times. So I think the Patriots, for the most part this year, have been very good at stopping the run, except for that Lions game. But nothing went right for them in that Lions game. So overall, I thought it was a solid win for the Patriots, even though they kind of scared me a little bit. And even though, yes, the Colts are not as talented as the Patriots, the Colts are not a very good team, and the Colts were injured. And so I give them credit for fighting hard, but a win's a win, and on to the next game, which is against Kansas City, which I didn't think before year, but this is probably one of the key this is probably going to be one of the best matchups of the year. But we'll preview that game on the next show. So, and as far as this game, I just want to make one more point. So after those 2 horrible losses to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions, it looks like the Patriots are back on track. And I never really doubted that the Patriots would be back on track. I mean, they never do the greatest in September. And so I never had any doubt that they would get back on track. I mean, like, people in the media who said that the Patriots were done, I mean, those are just people that I think just want the Patriots to be done. Or they just don't know anything. However, the one thing that does concern me is I'm a little worried that this year's team is just going to be the same. It's going to be the same team as last year's team, in which you have an offense that can move the ball and score a lot of points, but you have a defense that can't put any pressure and basically lets teams march down the field on them. So that's my big concern, because I think the defense might be slightly better. I don't know. Last night it looked kind of the same, and Brady still looks sharp as always, but I don't know. Because I think obviously last year they got to the Super Bowl, but I think everybody knows that in New England the standard is not just going to the Super Bowl; it's winning the Super Bowl. And if they're just gonna look like they did last year, I'm a little worried about if they can really what their chances are if they go to the Super Bowl next year. I do think this team will go to the AFC Championship. I'm pretty confident in that. But I'm a little worried about I'm a little worried that this team is just going to be last year's team. But it's only week 5, and we'll see how this team grows over time, because hopefully this team can evolve, and plus the Patriots looks like the Patriots have a running game this year, which they didn't really have last year. And so, oh yeah, and also the wide receivers are worse. Even though I guess if Josh Gordon develops into a star wide receiver, they could have a dynamic receiving core again. So, all right, well, all right. Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll discuss the Bruins, who had 2 completely different nights this week. Hello, welcome back to JHo the Sports Dude at WMUA. Welcome back to the podcast. So now I'm going to talk about the Bruins, who were completely different for last night and the opening night and last night. And so I'm going to address each game individually, because I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest. So let's talk about that debacle in Washington. So going into the game, I knew that the Bruins, it was a tall task for them to go into Washington and win in the Stanley Cup champions building. I mean, this is a team that always underachieved in the playoffs, and they finally got the monkey off their back and won a Stanley Cup. And so the team was running on an emotional high, and so all the energy was with them. But I was also curious. I thought it would be a good game because these are 2 Stanley Cup contenders, and also Tom Wilson's not there, who's suspended for 20 games, and Barry Trotz is not there. So I thought this would be I thought it'd be competitive. So I was curious to see what both teams look like. And then within 24 seconds, the Caps scored a goal, and a minute and a half later, the Caps scored another one. And then after that, things just went down from there, because after that, the Bruins played okay, but then in the second period, they proceeded to have one of the most disgraceful, ugly, garbage performances of that I've probably ever seen from the Bruins. Like that, they were a disgrace. They were awful. Like, they allowed 4 goals in the second period, and Rask, who, I mean, it's not. I mean, I understand that he was facing like a million shots, but I mean, Rask allowed 5 goals in 19 shots. 19 shots. Like, he was just terrible. And honestly, the Capitals probably could have shot the puck blindfolded, and they probably would have found a way to get the puck in the net. And like the obviously it just seemed like the Caps had just had the energy to play, and the Bruins were just completely uninspired. That was probably the most uninspired, lifeless, dead performance I've ever seen the Bruins show. Honestly, you could bring Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Cam Neely, Ray Bork right now, on the ice rink, and they probably would have put in more effort than the Bruins performed that night. And basically, they were owned in most categories. Like, they got outshot by the Caps. The Caps had more takeaways. Oh, and here's an interesting stat. On the power play, the Caps were 4 for 6. 4 for 6! They scored 4 power play goals. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. And I mean, there was one stat the Bruins were pretty dominant at is faceoffs. The Bruins had 41 and the Caps had 19. But honestly, I look at the score. It didn't really matter. And so Rask had a .737 save percentage, and Jaroslav Halak, I think that's how you say his name, had a 0.889 save percentage. So, I mean, he played okay. I mean, obviously, I obviously nobody's gonna be perfect in that situation. And honestly, he made. I mean, obviously he was better than Rask, but honestly, like, I think a toddler could play better than Rask did. So, and yeah, so, and also I also found out, and also the Caps have basically owned the Bruins for a while now. I don't know if you guys have known this, but the Capitals have won 13 straight games against the Bruins, and Rask is 1-11 against them with the 3.3 allowing averaging 3.3 goals per game against them and a .889 save percentage, and Holtby is 15-2 against them. So, and honestly, in the second period, I didn't really feel like Holtby really had any work, because the Capitals were always in the Bruins zone. So, and basically shooting a million shots at Rask, and even though Rask, there were a few goals in which they were not Rask's fault, but there were a few, especially the last one, in which, especially the last one, you can't allow that one, like the one in which they basically shot to the side, and that he should have stopped that one. So yeah, that was honestly the most disgraceful, disgusting, horrifying loss I've ever seen from the Bruins. Honestly, if I was Cam Neely and Jeremy Jacobs, I would have made the whole team literally walk to Buffalo. Like, literally just take their stuff, take all their equipment, and literally walk to Buffalo. Or let them use the plane. Make them find a way how to get home. It was disgusting. And also I have to bring this up, but at the end, Brad Marchand and Lars Eller kind of got into it. And Lars Eller was, after scoring the last goal of the game, he kind of over-celebrated a little bit. He celebrated, and then he kind of celebrated from the Bruins bench, and Marchand and the Bruins weren't very happy, so Marchand kind of jacked him. I understand that Lars Eller, he over-celebrated a little bit. Like, you really don't need to do that when you're basically creaming the Bruins. But my main response is to Marchand is basically, and to the Bruins, is if you don't want people celebrating on you, how about play better? Don't allow 7 goals. And Brad Marchand don't have a -2 rating. And so I thought Marchand was going to get suspended, but he didn't. So whatever, we move on. And move on we shall. So let's talk about the second game. So I'm definitely going to have a more positive tone, because the Bruins, they bounced back. They had probably the worst game I've ever seen by them, and they played really well. So going into this game, I was a little worried, because last year the Bruins were actually 1-3 against the Sabres, even though the Sabres were dreadful last year. They had the worst record in the NHL last year. They were awful. And this year the Sabres improved. At least I think, with getting the number 1 pick, Ramus Dahlin. They added Jeff Skinner, Connor Sherry, and Ryan O'Reilly to the lineup. So I think the Buffalo Sabres would be better this year. So I was a little worried, but I was sure that the Bruins could bounce back, and they did. They won 4-0. They scored 2 goals in the first period. The first one was by Big Z Zdeno Chara at 41 years old. Look at these 41-year-olds performing big in Boston. And second was a power play goal by Ryan Donato. And in the second period, David Pastrnak scored a goal, and at the end, Patrice Bergeron scored an empty net goal at the end of the game. And so overall, I thought they performed really, really well. A lot of credit goes to the top line and the veteran players of the Bruins. Brad Marchand, after that bad look fighting Lars Eller in Washington, I think was the star of the game. He had Barton Marchand had 4 assists, and Patrice Bergeron also had an assist, and he had a goal, but that was a empty net goal, so I don't know if we should really count that, but it's a goal. And he was 12 for 15 off faceoffs, so yeah, Patrice Bergeron's the master at faceoffs. And David Pastrnak had a goal, and Chara had a goal, so the leaders on the team definitely stepped up. And it was kind of I decided to look back at the stats, and they kind of shocked me a little bit. A lot of the stats didn't really go in the Bruins' favor. The Bruins were outshot by the Sabres. The Bruins had 26 shots and Sabres had 32 shots. The Sabres had 25 hits and the Bruins had 13 hits. And faceoffs, Bruins had 29 faceoff wins and Sabres had 38. So it was kind of weird. Some of the stats didn't really back them up. But here are the stats that did stand out to me. So giveaways, the Bruins had 6, Sabres had 19. And when it comes down to it, the Bruins took advantage of their scoring opportunities, and the Sabres did not. And also, the other star of the game is Horoslav Halak, who looked really good with the shutout. And a shutout. I was a little surprised that he was starting, but after the way Tuukka Rask looked in Washington, I can't say I was super surprised, but I thought Tuukka Rask was going to start just so he can regain his confidence. And also I also found out that Halak, who has had kind of a journeyman career, he did play for the Sabres, or he was part of the Sabres. He's been around on a lot of teams, but he was part of the Sabres, only for 5 days, but he was with the Sabres. And so so obviously the inevitability is a goalie controversy. So obviously now sparks the question is who should be goalie for the Bruins? And I know that I kind of get the sense that most fans I think most fans are kind of sick of Tuukka Rask. I think from what I can sense, Boston fans want to throw him in Tuukka Rask in the Boston Harbor. But I mean, I want Tuukka Rask to succeed, even though he can be very frustrating sometimes. And like the main criticism is he doesn't perform in big games, and there's some truth to that. But the thing is, Rask still has that 8-year, $56 million contract, which doesn't end until 2021. And I mean, Rask is still a star. Like Halak is a backup, and so if you start him for the rest of the season, I don't even know. I'm not really sure how well he can consistently play, but I've always believed you go with the hot hand, so I would probably lean towards Halak. But I think Rask is probably gonna still be the starter, but he has a short leash. So good bounce back win, and we'll see how the Bruins do next.
All right, so why don't we actually get into some Celtics news while we're at it, while we're talking all things Boston sports. So this week, Kyrie Irving was at an event for season ticket holders at the TD Garden for the Celtics. And so Kyrie Irving shared some interesting news considering the stories that are coming out this offseason. So he said to the crowd, "If you guys will have me back, I plan to resign here," and which got the crowd rolling. And so basically, Kyrie Irving says that he's planning on staying he wants to stay with the Celtics, and actually, I read a story that Kyrie invited his Celtics teammates to his house to tell them that he resigned. So from the looks of it, it looks like Kyrie Irving is probably going to resign with the Celtics, which I'm super happy about, because even though the Celtics in the playoffs without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, they played admirably and they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I think you can only go so far with the young players, and you need somebody to score buckets in crucial clutch moments, and that's that's what Kyrie Irving is here for. And so I would love for Kyrie Irving to sign. I did hear like a bunch of stories about how Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving are going to sign with the Knicks, and there was definitely, it wasn't completely out of the realm of possibility, so I was a little worried. But hearing this, I'm really happy that Kyrie Irving would stay in Boston. I love the idea. I love the prospect of that, and I could just hear the Knicks fans crying foul. So, there's a few things though. One, anything could change. Like, people change their mind. Like, Paul George, it was a certainty that he was going to sign with the Lakers. Like, he told everybody, even though I don't know if he ever said it in public, but it was certain that he was going to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. And everybody thought they would, and then once free agency came up, he didn't even visit the Lakers. He decided that he was going to stay with the Thunder. So anything could happen. So I would say be happy. Celtics fans should be happy, but be a little cautious. And I think the Celtics are one of those franchises that isn't a place that free agents. I don't think free agents like died to go to. But I think a lot of Celtics will tell you that once you win here, and you embrace the garden, you embrace the fans, you don't want to leave. Like, Isaiah Thomas did not want to leave. Like, when he left, you could tell it really, really crushed him. And I felt pretty bad for him, even though I think the Celtics won that trade. So, and also, I think Kyrie Irving is going to stay because he can get the most money here. And I think, honestly, he would probably get the best chance of winning a championship here. I think the only place that would have a better chance of winning a championship besides here is Golden State, and he's not going to Golden State. So they're definitely better than the Knicks, which is the team that was reported to be interested in Kyrie Irving. So, and also, there's one other thing. Like, the one thing that worries me about Kyrie Irving, besides the fact that his defense can be a little suspect at times, even though I think he defended better this year than he did in Cleveland, is his injury history. Like, he does have an injury history, even though he has played full seasons. He had injuries in Cleveland. He was injured last year. And so I think it's important for Kyrie Irving to stay healthy this year, because if he gets hurt, I think the Celtics might rethink about giving him that max contract, even though I still think they could get a deal done. But I think it's imperative for him to stay healthy, and I guess doing well in the postseason and hitting clutch shots would help. So, yeah, I had a big smile on my face when I heard Kyrie Irving say that, I'm not gonna think about this too much in the regular season. Once the finals is over, then we should revisit this, and hopefully the Celtics and Kyrie Irving make a deal pretty quickly, because I don't like getting too anxious about all this free agency stuff. All right, then, why don't we answer some questions? So before I started recording the show, I posted on Instagram to see if anybody would like to ask me any sports questions that I can answer on air, and I got only a few, so I'll answer two of them. So Aaron asks, how well do you think the Celtics will do this year? So another Celtics, bring up the Celtics again. So I think, like everybody else, I think this is the best team in the East. I think this is a team that can compete with Golden State. And I actually if the Celtics go up against Golden State, I actually like their chances, because even though Golden State is a juggernaut and they're one of the most talented teams of all time, I think one of their weaknesses is if they go. I think there are two ways you can beat Golden State. One, you can outshoot them, which is kind of really, really hard because they have three of the best shooters in the NBA. Or two, you can be physical with them and force them to make tough shots, in which I mean, as great shooters as they are, they're not gonna make all their shots. And so I think that's what, when they lost to Cleveland in the finals, I think that's what Cleveland did. They played physical with them. And also, other than playing physical, which it's not just that. You need a guy who can get buckets in clutch moments. So that's what Kyrie did with Cleveland. That's what I think Kyrie can do for the Celtics if they play the Warriors in the finals. So I know like the expectation for the Celtics like are incredibly high, even though, and it does worry me. I can't say, I won't lie and say that it doesn't worry me a little bit that they're getting this much hype, but I think the hype is warranted, and I think I'm not 100% sure how many wins. I think I'm gonna do before basketball season starts. I'm gonna do a basketball season preview on my show. So wait for that. So this might change, but for now, I'm gonna guess the Celtics can win. I'm gonna go pretty big. I'm gonna go 65 wins, or 60 to 63 to 65 wins. So I think that's possible. So I have really high expectations for the Celtics this year. So hold on. So all right, why don't we go to the next question? So the next question is from Scooter, and he asks, how well do you think Josh Gordon will do this year? So I guess I don't think Josh Gordon will. If I wouldn't like put Josh Gordon in your fantasy, I don't think he'll put up like insane numbers, because I think he still has a little catching up to do when learning Tom Brady's trust and catching up on the Patriots playbook. Even though that touchdown, hopefully that touchdown against Indianapolis for Brady's 500 touchdown was a good start. So I think he'll catch like 2 to 3 passes a game. I think he's a guy that will be able to, if Brady needs a clutch catch or a big catch for a big third down, or just like in this game today, just a chuck down the field. I think that's where Josh Gordon comes in handy. I think, honestly, I don't think Josh Gordon was brought here to make a big impact in the regular season, maybe until the end of the year. I think Josh Gordon's here for the playoffs. I think that's where Josh Gordon could shine if he stays on the field. That's important. All right, that will be it for this podcast. So thank you for listening, and next week we'll look at everything Boston, more stuff from Boston sports, and I'm out.